Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the NerdNest podcast. I am your host, Bill Fairchild.
I'm Rich. Hey, guys.
I'm Jimmy. Hello.
He forgot his name. That's okay. You know what? We're leaving it in.
I didn't want to step on what Rich
It
was
was
saying.
me.
He had a follow-up.
I did a little, hey, guys.
I thought he was just going to say, hey.
Really
This is how we start the show, just by screwing things up, and it's fun. It's more fun that way. That's why we're going to leave it in. Whatever that guy says, we're doing it live. So let's get started. We've got so much news to talk about today. Before we get to the news that we have, which is very, very Xbox heavy, just real quick, I want to say that we have heard rumblings that Steam machines are out in the wild, but that's all we really know at this point. So I think we'll probably hear about some stuff soon. And
yeah, Rich got one.
No. That's my fault for stepping on. Only Rich, only me. I'm the only one. Yeah.
That's right. He hasn't made a video in 6 months, and they're like, here you go, man.
Why not? Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think probably something's coming soon if the whispers that I've been hearing are to be believed. But, we don't really know any more than that. So let's move on from that. This week, we just following up from last week, we did the PlayStation State of Play and then the Summer Games Fest. Well, now we have the Xbox presentation and the Nintendo Direct. But we also have like tons and tons of Xbox news because they just would not shut up this week, nonstop with all of the things that they've been saying. So let's jump in with that. First off, we're going to get to the exciting stuff later, and I'm going to start with bad news. Bill here. We've got big layoffs are apparently coming for Microsoft. I saw this over on Twitter. Asha tweeted out, "We just shared with our team the realities we need to navigate as we work to reset the Xbox business. We won't succeed by hiding hard truths, nor will we succeed by doing the same thing and expecting different results." And then Tom Warren said, "Xbox warns of reset as it prepares for layoffs. Sources tell me there are major Xbox layoffs coming next month, and the cuts may even involve studio closure." And then they drop a little more details over on their website. So let's talk about this idea of an Xbox reset. Jimmy, when you hear the words Xbox reset, what does that mean to you?
It means doubling down on franchises that work, and that the era of creative freedom that we've kind of seen all these companies sort of in is pretty much over. So, like, in my opinion, games like Keeper and the pot game, I forget what it's called, Kiln.
Kiln.
That's done. Stuff like Halo, though, they're gonna have to do a lot of work at Halo Studios if these rumors about it being mostly freelancers and no one at the studio actually making games. Like, they've got their work cut out for them there, but they're going to double down on Halo. They're going to say, okay, Bethesda, no more taking 12 years to make games. If you can't make a new Fallout, we're going to give it to id, for example, or someone, and just get this roster of franchises that they have under their belt that are just kind of sitting there out the door, like Forza, Gears, Halo, Doom, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and just keep those coming at a steady clip because, yeah, the output has been terrible since like 2020, and
that's when they announced we bought all these companies. Yeah.
So it's not good that they have to lay off a bunch of people, but like that's what happens when you don't sell games. And a lot of the ideas have been cool, but like I just don't think these small, tiny, like passion projects belong at a multi-billion-dollar company like Xbox. And it's hard to see this going any other way when these games were never going to sell 10 million copies, and they're kind of seemingly expecting them to.
Do you think that they're going to sell off Double Fine or close Double Fine?
I hope they give them the option to buy themselves out or find a buyer, but
yeah, me too.
If I looked at it, it's like them. They're the like easy answer to point to. Ninja Theory, people are like pretty positive Ninja Theory's done, but Ninja Theory is more of like a technical showcase for them, like graphically speaking and like performance wise, and they handle a lot of mocap, so maybe they'd be safe. Turn 10 I think they're just done because they don't even have any. They're a tiny studio now. They're like a support studio for Playground Games that I'm
Right.
sure was helpful in the lead up to Forza Horizon 6, but like, you know, you could go to Playground and be like, could you get by without them? The answer is probably yes, because Playground's like effectively the stewards of Forza now. So like a lot of these smaller support studios, I think, are done. And other than that, I mean, our Obsidian, they're out the door on Avowed and Outer Worlds too. I feel like they tell them, all right, Grounded team, keep doing what you're doing, keep working with Eidos Montreal. But this two-split team that we have doing Avowed and the Outer Worlds, you guys are rejoining, and you're going to work on New Vegas 2, or you're going to work on an IP, because the Outer Worlds is not working out. So, I mean, that's what I would do, personally, if I was running the show. I'd be like, let's look at the IP that people actually want to play and buy and spend money on, and figure out what studios we have that can work on them, and pass those out accordingly.
Matthew Ball says something. I don't know if this is in one of the show notes from later on, but he called himself a strategic optimist, right? And that sounds like corporate speak, but it resonates with me. When I think so, Jimmy, you mentioned like passion projects and that not being the future for Microsoft, and there's a lot of me that agrees with you, despite my, I want shorter games.
Yeah.
Look, you know what I mean? Despite that, right? But
like, it was cool, but like,
I think there's a future for that, right? But I think that it has to be on guardrails. It has to be on rails, right? You have to put what is the budget, right? And it does not exceed that budget, because the point is it's experimental and we don't know. But like what we've seen is not quite that. And what I was going to get to too was I think a lot about the early days of like Platinum, where they are just an absolute creative engine, right? Like they just love batshit off the wall stuff, but they too had an obligation to bring in the money. You know what I mean? Like they took on these licensed projects, whether it was Transformers, I mentioned TMNT last week. They took on these licensed projects that were like guaranteed income, and that enabled them to be the creative force that they were.
That's a great point.
And even then, it wasn't easy, right? And so like, I think there's a future for them to pursue passion projects, but not without the bread and butter. They need to establish that bread and butter. And I'm the first person that is going to go to bat for not just consumers, but developers. And so like, my heart goes out to the people that are being laid off. But the next story is about the 3% margin that Asha says they have. And when we talked about it in the group chat, I saw that number, and just like my gut instinct is like, that is an abysmal number. And to be honest, I didn't have any frame of reference, so I had to look it up and see what a frame of reference was. According to what I found, I think Nintendo is currently around 19%. Sony is currently around 30 to 40. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to make sure that people understand what is this percent that you're talking about. So you want to explain that real quick and then go back to your numbers?
Yes. So I'll read the quote, in fact, and she says, Asha and Matt say, we will end this fiscal year at about a 3% accountability margin, down year over year. She goes on to say, excluding Activision Blizzard King, over the past 5 years, we have spent over $20 billion on ongoing investments in our content platform and hardware subsidy, but our annual revenue has declined nearly $500 million during that time. Going forward, this cannot continue. So all of those numbers already sound bad, but when I looked up what the margin looks like for gaming companies and for tech companies, because Xbox is a gaming company, but Microsoft is a tech company. The picture that I got is 15 to 25% is a solid year. Anything above that is a really good year. Single digits is we're clearly investing at the best, right? Take-Two, I think, has negative margin up until GTA 6, right? Like the whole point is that they're pumping in a lot of money into GTA 6 with the expectation that it's going to flip that number around. I don't see that on the horizon for Xbox. I don't see that they're pumping money into one specific thing that's going to turn that ship around. And so, like, given that, I do understand that you have to either, but probably both, cut costs and get more money somehow, right? So that's the mission that Xbox is on. My big contention, I think, is that the layoffs themselves are not the problem, they're the symptom. The problem is overhiring, overinvesting in the wrong places. To Jimmy's point, like, I don't know how much money they threw at Kiln, but they couldn't have gotten what they wanted out of that. And so that overinvestment and overhiring leads to just, when times get lean, we don't have the room for you. So now we have to lay you off. So I think that's the thing that they have to work on.
Yeah, when you talk about, yes, I do think that so many tech companies and especially gaming companies overhired during the pandemic. Like, they were like, we're making so much money, we're going to hire all these people, we're going to have them work from home, it's going to be great. And then after the pandemic was over and people had to go back to work and people weren't stuck in their houses playing Animal Crossing all day, the revenue that came from video games dropped back down to the normal level. But they had hired all these people and they had to they started these projects. So they started throwing good money after bad, basically saying, well, we want to finish this. Otherwise, all of the money that we invested in it is like, we already threw it away. So then they continued to invest in that same thing. And now they're like, for the past 2 years, maybe not 2 years, for the past year, they've been correcting for that. And that's by having all of these layoffs. And I'm not saying that these people should be laid off, because I think that there are other solutions that would be better. Like, for instance, Microsoft has so many freaking IPs. Just do what Jimmy said. Freaking point at Double Fine and say, okay, you guys are now making a game for, I don't know, an IP like
Banjo-Kazooie.
Hexen. Banjo-Kazooie, sure. You guys are making a Banjo-Kazooie game. You guys over here at Turn 10, you're going to make a Hexen racing game or something. I don't know. Just come up with something and then sell those games. And the other problem that they have is nobody buys any of their smaller games because they just play them on Game Pass. Nobody, like that Kiln game, nobody bought that. There's like very few people paid money for that game. They subscribed to Game Pass and they tried it, but nobody also subscribes to Game Pass for Kiln. You know what I mean?
And they lost bringing in any money. Game Pass subs when they raised the price to $30. So like even less people played it. Like that all happened before Kiln even came out, I want to say. And then so Kiln was like in between the price increase and the decrease. So that sucks. And like Kiln and Pentiment are two great examples of games that's like, yeah, you can make that in between New Vegas 2 and Oblivion Remake, right? Like you want a creative reset, you want something you can make quick, get that out the door. But like you can't have a studio that's outputting games every 3 to 4 years or whatever, maybe 5 years, that are niche and like passion projects. Like Pentiment kind of made sense because Obsidian was pumping bigger games out. But yeah, it just seems like they have so many studios that there's no, like, they can't possibly, babysit them all. And that's how you end up with situations like what happened at Undead Labs. Did you guys hear about that? Like, this is kind of old news at this point, but
no.
Like when that initial trailer, I think in like 2021, I want to say, for State of Decay 3 came out, and it's like in the winter and there's zombie animals and it's like super high resolution graphics and everything, like a big step up from State of Decay 2. In reality, that studio hadn't even started working on the game, and that was just something they mocked up just to get it in the showcase. And then there was like a bunch of drama with the guy who founded the studio, who eventually left, and like ipso facto, they didn't start working on State of Decay 3 until like a year ago. And State of Decay 2 is almost, I want to say almost 10 years old at this point. If it's not new by any stretch. And then you have the whole situation with Contraband, where apparently that just languished, and Halo Studios, where the way they have things set up is like they're not even developing Halo Campaign Evolved, and then they have a whole system there where it's mostly contractors. So you spend all this time training someone, their contract ends, you don't hire them, you shuffle a new person in, and then the training cycle restarts. And this is like happening at multiple studios they own. So it's like, where do you even pick where to start in terms of fixing one? You know, it's just like seems horribly mismanaged.
State of Decay is an interesting point, considering that like some games being in pre-production for a long time makes sense, right? And that especially makes sense when it's a small team in pre-production, just kind of figuring it out while, you know, a bigger team is going out and making, you know, the title that's going to fund the research, let's say. But State of Decay 3, how much research do you need to do to figure out the game you're going to make? You
right.
know what I mean? Like the formula is pretty.
We did it before.
Sound. Yeah.
Twice.
Twice. Yeah.
Right. And like the progression from the first game to the second one is literally like, what if the graphics didn't look like the PS2 and we had more maps? Like, it's a very logical progression. So it's like, oh, you'd think for the third game, they just go in, what if the combat didn't suck and like the maps were bigger and the graphics were better? Like, there's a very clear progression with that.
That seems fine, right? Like, what are we doing? What are we spending all of this time on? You say it was like almost 10 years since Decay 2?
If not 10, it's more than 5.
Yeah. So what is actually going on? That's insane.
I don't know. Like, you look at Redfall, and where Microsoft basically says, okay, make this game. I know that you guys don't usually do this, not genre, like this kind of game, this live service component to your games, but we want you to do this game, and we're just going to let you do it however you want. That's like, if you're going to have somebody make a live service game, it should be a company who has some experience making live service games. If you're going to have somebody make a dedicated single player story based game, then it should be somebody who works on that kind of game because they have that pedigree, they have that experience. And I'm going to give you the perfect example. Final Fantasy 14. When Square Enix decided to make Final Fantasy 14, they were like, okay, well, we're making an MMO and we're going to make it the most beautiful MMO ever. And they put so many polygons on the screen at the same time that they could only have like 10 characters on the screen at once. There was crazy popping. What's that?
In the MMO one?
Yeah, in the MMO one. And it was so bad and it ran so poorly on so many people's hardware that essentially Square Enix brought in Yoshi P, who was working on Final Fantasy 15, I believe, and they said, okay, we need you to fix Final Fantasy 14. So he simultaneously rebuilt the game from the ground up with his team and slowly changed the game of the one that was already out over time until there was an in-game event that shut down the original one and turned on the new one, and then it was awesome. And that's the kind of thing where you had a company who was like, okay, well, we're making this kind of game, but they don't understand how that kind of game works because their experience is someplace. We had some technical difficulties. Basically, Microsoft needs to make sure that the right devs are working on the right games. And I hate to say that they shouldn't be making games like Kiln because nobody is making games like Kiln. You know what I mean?
I think the part I caution, because I'm agreeing with you guys, but the part I'm cautioning is like, also, we would have said, don't make Sea of Thieves. Right? Like, we would have said that.
Right.
We saw Sea of Thieves.
And that's huge.
We would have been like, don't make that game. That game's clearly not going to take off. So like, I think there's room for that, right? And some of those are going to get you unexpected successes. But I think a lot of the times what is not happening is exactly what you're describing. They're not picking the right teams. So like, as soon as Jimmy said Banjo-Kazooie, we were both like, yes, Double Fine would be perfect for Banjo-Kazooie. And
so would Rare.
Yes, Rare. Clearly, clearly they would be great for Banjo-Kazooie, right? What are they doing? What is Microsoft doing when they're not pairing great studios for what they are meant to make, what they are like designed to make? And I think that's what's missing.
Yeah. Well, that's just on the software side of things. But then we have the hardware side of things, and the hardware side of things is really, really bad. I put out a video where I said, I think that we are about to experience the longest generation period ever, because I don't know if it makes we've argued about this nonstop for about a week in our private Discord. I don't know if it makes sense for them to bring out Project Helix right now. You know what I mean? Let me read this thing that came in from Asha and Matt, because it was part of this whole thing that she had posted. She said, "We are in a hardware component crisis," and I think that's the right term. When I joined as CEO in February, I can't believe it's been that long already, the price we paid for console storage components was over 2 times as high as we paid last fall. So from fall to February, it doubled. Okay. These costs have since doubled again. And as we plan for the 2027 holiday season, we expect another significant price increase, taking us over 5 times the prices we paid only 2 years earlier. Memory costs have followed by broadly similar trajectory. While the entire industry has been facing component crisis, we believe we have been impacted more greatly than many of our peers due to the choices we have made over the last half decade. Wow, way to throw Phil under the bus there. As players want to buy, and we need a new business model and partnerships for hardware as we remain committed to Helix. Essentially what she's saying is Phil did just-in-time hardware. Basically,
what does that
make
mean?
them as soon as
saying that.
Just in time. So basically the idea is, I'm going to build an Xbox. I'm going to go buy the parts for the Xbox right now, build it and ship it. Whereas instead other companies say, we need to build 1 billion PS5s. Let's buy the parts for 1 billion PS5s, because then we get a huge discount by buying a ton of it. And then we build them as we go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
The second option sounds like the one you should do.
Especially if you're Microsoft with all that, they got buckets of cash. They can afford to spend the money. The only difference is when you do the just-in-time thing, if your system isn't selling really great, you don't have stock sitting on the shelf. You know what I mean?
That happened with the 360 too. Like the 360 that got expensive in the exact same way, and then they just stopped making it and started fast tracking the Xbox One.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say it's also possible that maybe you might expect that because the prices will go down on components in a normal time, that you'll pay less over time by doing just in time. But yeah, either way, I think the expectation, and not just the expectation, but what you actually need to sustain a hardware business in gaming is to sell tens of millions of units, if not more, right? And if they're not planning for that, and they're just saying, we'll see, whatever we sell, then that's kind of what you get in the back end.
Yeah. But there's that one line that she said at the very end. She said, "We need a new business model. I want to talk about what that business model might be, and partnerships," meaning OEMs, right? That's what I take away from this, is that they want other people to be making Helix so that they're not taking all of the risk, kind of like they did with Asus.
Yeah, I saw it floated around that they could buy Asus and take over their RAM contracts.
That would be
interesting. I have no idea. I don't know what the market cap is for Asus, but I'm done with companies buying other companies.
Yeah, M&A's got to stop.
It never works out good for us.
Same, and it's not like Asus products sell for cheaply, right? So I can't imagine that their current contracts do much for them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's interesting. When I read that, I don't necessarily think hardware partners like I'm interpreting this extremely vaguely. And I'm thinking, like, they just had that, it was Discord, the Discord partnership. They were talking about the Netflix partnership. Like, that was a discussion that was happening. Presumably,
but this says partnerships for hardware.
Yes. Still, I don't know. I just can't. Maybe they mean the partnerships with their OEMs, right? So, so like their partnerships with AMD.
Oh, right. I get what you mean.
And maybe they are talking about just in time and saying, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this business model and this model of partnership. So I take this, part of the reason I think I'm taking this very vaguely is because what I said before, they need both more money and fewer expenses. And they're, as we're going to talk about with these other stories, they're going to do everything they can, or they're at least going to explore everything they can to pull on both of those levers. How do we make more money and spend a lot less? How are we going to do both of those? And I sent Jimmy a link for like a Windows Central article, and in that Windows Central article, some guy made a comment about like all the levers they could possibly pull, and I was like, this guy, I think he knows what he's talking about. Like, they should hire. He was cooking. They should hire him. So I'm pulling it up now. So he says, see if I can give him credit too. His name is Fabnap. And he's like, there's actually a lot they can do. And he's saying, to make more money. He said the hardware way is to quickly build a Helix S with lower RAM and lower SSD and fewer cores. Problem is to get this both fast enough and cheap enough. Yes, of course. But that's a good idea, right? Like, it's going to suck for customers that are going to have, even less storage space than they expect. But that's one of the levers that can be pulled. He says, back to subsidy, take away the option to run PC games from outside the Xbox store. That's a tough one, since it's kind of the best Helix feature from a customer point of view. But again, yes, now I'm interjecting, kind of editorializing. If you want to get more money on the store end, I think one of the ways to do that is to sort of take away the PC feature. He goes on to say bundle with Game Pass to subsidy. So like a carrier iPhone plan, make a new Game Pass Ultimate Helix tier for $39.99 per month over 3 years. That, the all access plan that they did with Xbox One or Xbox Series, right? That they did. So,
you mean it comes with hardware? Like, you're paying for Game Pass, but you're also getting hardware.
It's like
part of your subscription.
You're financing hardware essentially, right? And then I'll leave it at this. Not the last one, but one of the last ones he says here is just create different tiers. So a cheap Helix is one that does not run PC games and it shows ads, because one of the stories we'll talk about is putting ads in games. So the cheap Helix does not run PC games. It shows ads. The medium tier Helix would run PC games, but no, sorry, it would still not run PC games. But in this case, no ads. The cheap one would have ads. The expensive Helix is both no ads and run Steam. So like, yeah, you could have those 3 tiers, and maybe that's how you get that, that income going up.
I guess, but at the same time, like, how much is this? So now you got 3 different systems, and we heard over and over developers complain about the Xbox Series S. They're like, targeting this system is a pain in the ass. What was it? Baldur's Gate 3 couldn't do split screen multiplayer, and that's why it took so long to come to Xbox, because Microsoft said you have to support whatever. Do you anticipate if they did something like that? And obviously we don't know shit. Like, we're just responding to some guy's posts on the internet. If they did something like that, do you think it would be in Microsoft's best interest to say, you can put out your games on whichever one you want, or whichever one, or all if you want, but we're not going to require you to support all 3?
Yeah, of course that did bite them, the making it so that developers had to support both Series S and Series X. That, not definitely, but it presumably bit Microsoft and caused them to have fewer games that essentially just gave Sony de facto exclusives in some instances, or at least that's how it seemed. So I think that's possible. This person gave two different models. One of them is lower RAM and lower SSD, but the other model was just the cheaper Helix just does not run PC games. And I think that could be something where, like, yeah, the PC crowd, they'll buy the more expensive one and they're used to paying that money for the hardware, but the console crowd will, go for the lower one. So I think that could work. I don't know. And I also kind of agree with you, Bill, about like, maybe they are thinking about a delay, right? Like maybe it's not a terrible idea to just sit on the hardware and bring this out a little bit later.
Yeah, and I think they really need that type of machine, the lockdown one that's effectively a sequel to the Series X, because like we can sit here and tell people, oh, PC is so great, you get all this control, you get the settings, blah, 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 until we're blue in the face. But there's like a pretty sizable group of people who just want a console that they can just boot up, start the game. It has the settings all figured out. They're good to go. And moving all of those people over to PC versus them saying, well, I want a console, and the PS6 is a console, and the Xbox Helix is just a PC. I feel like it's much, they're going to go for that over wanting to move to an Xbox PC, because it's just like too much for some people. I meet them in the real world, like my neighbor down the street. He's like got an Xbox Series X, and he's like, yeah, I was hearing that they're thinking about killing off the Xbox brand and turning it into a PC type thing. And I could have corrected him, but he's like, I don't know if I want all that. I would probably just buy the PS6. And I was like, yeah, I get it. So I think it would be really important for them from multiple angles, right? Like that would be cheaper, and it would help you retain these people. And why are you investing in console exclusives right now when you need money on top of that, if you're not going to keep those fans going forward, right? Like theoretically, you'd want to get those fans happy and then keep them happy in the future.
Yeah.
Do you think that, like, I'm just throwing out numbers because I don't know. Let's use PS5 Pro as like a base, right? So PS5 Pro is what now?
900.
750? 900.
No, that's what it was.
It was 750. Now it's up to 900.
Okay. So let's say the new Xbox is not a PC. It debuts at $900. I think that's sort of like where we have kind of coalesced on consoles. So let's say it debuts at $900, does not play PC. You can buy a $1,900 version that also plays PC games. Like, do you think that not just would work, but like, do you think that is a clearer brand strategy to folks, where like people that are used to the console experience know exactly what they would get with the $900 box, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't have to fuss with the $1,900 one, and they have like a clearer path forward?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the average person who plays Call of Duty every year, 2K, GTA, like that's what they're going for, right? The easy entry point that lets them just download a game and play it. And that's going to be the like foundation of the hardware business, because if you're at $1,900, I'm sure you'll get people, because like, people bought the Steam Deck in general. I mean, the pricing's different, but like people showed up for that niche device. You'll get a niche crowd that's really interested in it, but I don't think there's any future in that being the majority.
I don't know, man. I think it's a little confusing. Like, what do you mean? You're like, I'm talking to my friend who's got a Helix. They bought the more expensive one, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I was just playing, I don't know, insert name of PC game that's not on consoles here. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then I go home and I go on my Helix, which I bought the cheaper one, and I go to the store and I start searching, and I'm like, I can't find it anywhere. Why can't I find this insert name of game that is not available on console here? Why can't I find that game anywhere? You know what I mean? Like, that would be really frustrating to customers.
That happens now, though, and it caused a huge problem on the PS5, where that game Schedule 1, where it's like the drug dealer simulator, where it's like the open world drug game. That's true.
Yeah.
People were like hyped on that on Steam, right? It absolutely exploded. And then someone whipped together an asset flip called like Drug Dealer Empire, I'm pretty sure is what it was called. But it had like the exact same art, the exact same logo style. And enough people bought it on PS5 and were scammed that Sony ended up kicking that publisher off of the PlayStation Store. Because people heard about the hot new game that wasn't on consoles, but they found one vaguely similar and were like, oh, I'm going to buy it. And then that happened.
Yeah, I can see that, but they were hearing about a hot new game and they were searching for it, but it wasn't their friend who was playing on it on a PS whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
That adds to the confusion and makes it harder. I don't think that I personally don't think that that's a good idea. I
also don't think the Helix idea is a good idea at all.
Really? You don't like the idea of it being able to play PC games?
I think it's cool, but like, I think you're going to piss off a big portion of your fan base telling them to move to PC. And that makes
are they moving to PC? They're still just going to be I mean, the fan base that you're talking about, they're still going to have access to Xbox games.
Right.
Which I think it puts me on the side of being confused by just a single box that plays console and PC games. Like, I think that makes sense to PC players, but like, I think the same exact scenario you painted, Bill, would happen on a single Helix the way we've been describing it, where it can play PC games, but it can play Xbox games. So if someone's playing the Helix, is a PC game on the Helix, and someone else goes to buy that game, now they have to come out of their Xbox mode and figure out how to get that game, especially if it's on Steam or something else.
That's true.
They still have to go through that friction. I like the Helix idea. I do find it confusing, right? And when I say confusing, it's what we've talked about before. There are a lot of questions that people still have that they have to answer, whether that is, will they still charge for online? Can it play discs? Right? Like, there are all these questions that they're starting to hint at, but they haven't answered, and they're running out of time to answer if this is coming out in 27. So yeah.
Is it supposed to come out in 27, or is it dev kits go out in 27?
I don't know.
I
think
can't
this
remember.
thing's 28 regardless.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's effectively 1 year away.
Honestly, it needs to be longer than that, because they can't buy all of this hardware when the price is super high. And then in 2028, when my lips to God's ears, the Rampocalypse is friggin' over and prices of RAM start to come down, but they paid a pretty penny for it so that they could have inventory ready to go. And now they have to sell it where it's really expensive, where everybody else is selling stuff cheap at that point. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh my God, they are in
what do you tell the people who bought in early, right? Like,
right.
If you release it during the Rampocalypse and you're charging $900, I mean, like, they're gonna talk about lowering the price, but then they're gonna be like, shit, what do we tell all these people who just gave us $900? They're gonna have to do what Nintendo did when the 3DS.
Oh right, like do it like a free game.
Happened. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like,
the ambassador program.
We overcharged you. We fleeced you a little bit.
Can I do my software like developer corner for a little bit? So like,
let's hear it, man.
So like a little bit of, I'll call it hopium. It's hopium that I have, and it's not necessarily hopium that you should have, but I have hopium, right? Because as a software developer, there was a phase that felt like it was going to last forever, but it was very short-lived. It's beginning to end now, like it's just starting. That phase is called token maxing. Have you guys heard of token maxing?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
So
my dad keeps doing it on ChatGPT, basically trying to look shit up that he wants to sell on eBay.
Wait, okay, to explain this. What is this?
Token maxing, at least in software developer terms, is maxing out your allotment of tokens, and maybe even more than that, right? So like for software developers, what that means is many places have had a leaderboard of how many tokens you're using. So they weren't measuring how much work you did. They're measuring how much you used AI. Yes, please.
Okay. I need you to explain this to people who don't use AI ever,
yes.
because I only like the most that I use it for is like I open up Claude and I look for something. I'm like, somebody complained about something and I was like, did this ever actually happen? And then it was like, so it could go through and go find if it happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking. What is a token?
A token is essentially the currency that LLMs use. So when you send a message to an LLM, you send a number of words. Those numbers, those words get converted into tokens, but an LLM can only handle so many tokens at once, right? And as your conversation, go ahead.
Do they tell you this somewhere?
There's a lot of like what a token is, but I think it's still very much a black box. So like, there's no like instruction manual for what you're asking for, right?
Understood. I'll shut up now. Go.
No. One of the things that they don't tell you too, right, is that like as your conversation grows, it's essentially like, let's say you sent five words per message or 5 tokens per message. This is really small. Your messages are usually longer than that. The input and the output are both calculated in tokens. So the number of words you send go against your token count, and the number of words the LLM sends back go against your token count, right? And so let's say you send 5 words in the first message and they send something back, and then you send another 5 words. Well, you didn't send another 5 words. You sent 5 words plus everything that has been said up until that point.
Okay.
So now with this message, you've sent 15 tokens, even though it looks like you've only sent 5, right? Because it has to have it can't hold the conversation in memory, essentially. There is a memory thing. I'm not going to get into it, but essentially, your conversation continues to grow. And the longer you use it, the more tokens you're using up.
Wasn't there like a news story where people were saying thank you too much and they had to stop, like tell people to stop saying thank you? Because it was like,
okay, I remember that.
It was Sam Altman that was like, the people that are saying thank you are like using up however much, power per day. And
I should do it now just to make him mad. I'll be like, when I ask ChatGPT, I write an Obsidian, right, for my shorts or whatever, and then I'll be like, can you put this in bullet points so I can read it? And then I go, thanks, bro. Thanks, G.
and it responds back, right?
Yeah, with 15 paragraphs and then a question.
It didn't used to ask a question, right? Like that is also new. That's like a way to incentivize you to keep talking.
Like, why do you want me to keep talking to you?
Right. Exactly.
The whole reason I'm using it is to make it quicker.
Right.
So that you can hit the cap and then have to pay more.
There you go. So token maxing then is, so like this, like I said, we would have leaderboards, not we, but like software developers, software development companies would have leaderboards. And the point is they were incentivizing people to use more AI, and they were measuring people against how much AI they were using. Again, not like how well they were doing, how many work items they closed. It didn't matter. The point was use more AI. And that was a strategy that clearly could not last. And finally, the pendulum is swinging back, I would say, as of the last 2 weeks, where more reports are coming in. There was a report from Microsoft. I think you saw this headline, Bill, where the headline was like, it costs less to have a person do this than what we're doing, right?
Right.
So like, that's what's happening. And the pendulum is swinging back where like, okay, we're going to put a cap on how much you're using. Sometimes the cap is high, sometimes it's not, but more and more workplaces are putting a cap on how much AI you can use. And I think that's only going to continue. So my hopium there is that puts a dent in Rampocalypse. It's not going to turn it around, but maybe it slows the growth.
Like plateaus it.
It plateaus it. Exactly. That's exactly it. And then, from there, as supply begins to catch up, and data centers are things that live forever, right? So like, you don't necessarily need more RAM once you have the data center mature. So I'm hoping that, in a couple of years, maybe it does go back down, but also nobody is saying that, right? Like all of the analysts in tech and you're right.
Nobody's stocks involved.
Fair. Exactly.
Could be the guy that tanks Broadcom stock just by saying, like no one's going to say anything.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's my hopium for the day.
And my hopium for the day is that you guys will check out the shirts that I have over at the Parody merch store, link down below. Somebody asked, they looked at the Rampocalypse shirt that I had, and they said, can you make a Ramageddon shirt? And so that's a new shirt that's up there now that you guys can get as well.
Next
Oh
up,
yeah.
Hopium shirt.
Also, I just checked Bill's
Hopium
data,
shirt. Good
and
idea.
80% of the people who watch are not subscribed. So if you're one of those people, subscribe to his channel.
Or Jimmy will come and threaten you with a Halloween mask.
Or he'll find a chair for you. Who knows? Okay, so what's that?
It's not even in the show.
I know that they'll never know what it is. That's okay. All right, so we need a new business model. It seems like we've talked about that, and we've talked about heart partnerships. They're committed to Helix. Real quick, yes or no? Do you think that they should delay Helix? Rich?
Real quick, so I can't give you my usual long answers.
I want to hear the answer.
Oh, fine.
Oh, fine. My longer answer is just, if we have 2 more years of like 2026 in terms of games, if 2027 and 2028 are just like 2026 in terms of games, then we don't need new hardware, right?
We don't.
I don't need new hardware if you keep delivering games at this pace, at the pace that you're delivering in 2026. I don't need new hardware. I'm fine.
But before I ask you the same question, Jimmy, I just want to say this. We are in such a weird time when it comes to video games, because on the hardware side, it's a freaking nightmare. But on the software side, we have been eating so good this year. So freaking good this year.
It's a reversal, because at the beginning of this gen, the software was lacking and the hardware came out and it was awesome. Like, you got like Miles Morales, it like was looking great on PS5. Xbox had Forza Horizon 5 and it was running great, and there was no games. And then now there's like a billion games that are excellent, and then no one wants to buy the hardware because it's too expensive. It's like, we can never just have equilibrium.
Well, and the fact of the matter is when Helix comes out, is it going to be more powerful than what we already have? Absolutely, it's going to be more powerful than we already have. But are we going to see that difference, or are we only going to know that difference because we watch a video from Digital Foundry and they're like, as you can see here, it has this kind of stuff over here and this kind of stuff over here when you zoom in and you look at it? Like, I don't know.
The only thing
I'm not excited about future hardware.
The only thing for me is CPU, because that's where both PS5, PS5 Pro, and Xbox are all lacking, is in CPU. And that's kind of like holding back, more NPCs or like bigger worlds and quicker transitions between areas of the map. So like, yeah, but other than that, no. I mean, I'm pretty I've been using my Series X since I got back from California, and I actually really like it. I've been playing Forza. There was a Master Chief campaign demo or whatever it's called, and then Doom the Dark Ages, and that's not a PS5 Pro, and it's working fine. So, and I got a PC, so I'm good. I'd be fine if they delayed it.
All right, let us know in the comments down below if you think that Xbox should delay Project Helix. Okay, we also have this quote from the same letter. I know this is a very Xbox heavy show today. It says, "We expanded our studio system when we needed a pipeline of content to meet multiple strategies across subscription, streaming, and devices. In the process, we have found ourselves overextended as we executed on changing strategies in a landscape of a more readily available content. We are fortunate stewards of industry-defining franchises that have enormous potential and player demand, but we have not adequately funded them to compete and win. At the same time, as we saw this past weekend at Showcase, a reliable pipeline of first and third-party exclusives and new IP are critical to our success. We need to reassess the balance between these and our investment priorities over the next 5 years." Okay, so this brings us to the new exclusive strategy that Microsoft has dipped their toe into, as I saw people say. Basically, they had this huge show they were constantly, it's like day one on Game Pass, day one on Game Pass, day one on Game Pass. And then the only thing anybody talked about was the fact that there were 2 games that are Xbox console exclusives still coming to PC. And that is Gears of War E-Day and Clockwork
Revolution.
Forget the name. Revolution. Yeah. Clockwork Revolution. And when people look at those, they're like, only 2 exclusives? How come you don't have more exclusives? What do you guys think about that? Jimmy, you were there.
I got to talk to Matt Booty about this. We got to interview him, and he didn't really confirm this, but I guess there were like contracts in place.
Hang on, is that going to be on your channel? The interview?
It's on Ray's already. It's on Xbox Ready.
Okay.
So you can go check out the
I'll leave a
full
link
interview.
down below.
I didn't realize this. A quick aside, I did not realize this, but only us and Paris and Danny from Gamertag Radio, I guess, got to interview him. So I thought they were just churning through everyone. So that was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Quick aside, guys, we should have Ray on. I've never met Ray, so we should.
Yeah,
have
I haven't met him either.
Yeah,
he's been doing podcasts now. It's crazy.
Sweet.
Awesome.
For those who don't know, Ray is my business partner, and he runs Xbox Ready. But I taught him how to be a YouTuber, so it brings a tear to my eye watching him excel right now in this space.
I love it.
But essentially, what it seems like happened is they looked at the situation and they wanted to pull Halo, and they wanted to pull Fable, and they wanted to pull Gears, right? But there are contracts in place for all 3. They're saying there was no contract for Gears, but they literally uploaded a trailer that features PS5 to their own podcast. So we're just going to assume that Gears had a contract. And when you have a contract signed to release on a platform like the PlayStation, there's a breakup fee if you want to pull that this far into development. So basically the spend would be too high to get all 3 off. And they chose the not Halo remake and not Fable, and said Gears should be on Xbox, so they went with that one of the 3. But from what I understand, Matt Booty didn't say this, but he was kind of insinuating it to us. From what I understand, they would have done more, but they wanted to make sure that they had Gears, and then they wanted to make sure there was a 2027 game as well to prove that this is not just like a one-off to like, you know, win one over with fans in the short term, and then go back to doing the same shit in the long term. So what do you think about their exclusive? Like, do you think that they should go back to having exclusives? Yeah, people get so mad, but like my toxic trait is that I like console wars. And I like when, you know, like when Sony's firing on all cylinders and Xbox, like during the 360 and PS3 days when, you know, you felt like you were missing out if you didn't have a 360. And that was like a cool period because you could talk to your friends and you could kind of talk a little shit about it, and that's kind of gone away. So if Xbox is really committing to having Gears, and Gears looks so good, like I love all the Gears. 4 and 5 were a little bit off the beaten path for me. This seems like what I've been wanting, so it's like it makes me happy I have an Xbox. So in my opinion, yeah, it's cool. It gets the fans together and talking and like having a sense of camaraderie and like, oh, did you play Gears? Yeah, I played Gears, and I miss that and I want that back. So I think it's a cool strategy. Clockwork Revolution, I feel like either is going to be not a moneymaker or a sleeper hit. I feel like it's one or the other. I don't feel like that's going to be a mid game.
It's funny you say that about console wars, Jimmy. Bill, do you remember me saying that last week?
Did you say the same thing?
Sorry, I got distracted. My cat's scratching at the door. So what were you saying?
I said last week I like console wars. Like, I'm not talking about like the fanboy stuff. I'm not into that.
Yeah, like the toxic stuff. Get out of there.
Leave that back then. But the companies being against each other, I think was good for the customer. And I know your reasoning is a little bit different, Jimmy, but I like that reasoning too, right? Like there's like a communal aspect, right? And I do think Xbox needs that back. I think exclusives are incredibly important, and I think they're pretty much the most important thing. And I know, like, we talked to Bob Wolf last week, and he was vehemently against exclusives. I know how your stance on it, Bill, but I think, you know, with Sony and what they were thinking about when it comes to PlayStation coming to PC, I think they looked at their 2 options that they had. They looked at Nintendo on one side, they looked at Xbox on the other side, and they're like, I like this one a lot more than I like that one, right? Like, I like what Nintendo is doing a lot more than I like what Xbox is doing. And I think with good reason, right? the other thing a lot of people think is that Xbox cannot turn their image around. A lot of people feel like the Xbox brand is done. Let's leave it in the past. Let's abandon Xbox consoles altogether and just make them a publisher. But if you think that Xbox can't turn around the brand, that's not to say they will, but if you think they can't, then what about Nintendo after GameCube and Nintendo after Wii U? Nintendo turned their brand all the way around and now are, at the top of consoles, and they don't need PC. They don't need to have their games on other platforms.
You know how they did that? Here's how they did that. Here's how Nintendo turned it around. They saw that the Wii U was a horrible failure, right? And say what you want about the Wii U. I thought it was a great console, but it was a failure. They sold 14.7 million units worldwide lifetime. That is abysmal for one of the big three. You know what I mean? So what they did is they said every single game that we're making right now that's supposed to come out on the Wii U, we are scrapping the Wii U version essentially, and we are moving that over to our next system. And the final year or two of the Wii U was terrible. Like nothing came out. And then when they brought out their next system, they said, okay, so we're going to launch with a big heavy hitter, Breath of the Wild, also on the Wii U, but we're going to launch with Breath of the Wild. And then every single month after month after month for the entire year that the Switch came out, it was just huge franchise game that everybody was looking forward to after huge franchise game that everybody was looking forward to. It was like banger after banger after banger. The only way that Microsoft can do that, I think, is if they say, okay, Xbox, they don't have to say it publicly. They could just wind down production on games. They could basically say internally, all right, we're going to stop making Series X games and we're just going to make Helix games. And then when the Helix comes out, it's going to be with so many games in that first year that people cannot ignore us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right strategy, but that's the strategy Nintendo used, and it worked wonderfully.
I think a critical component here is making games their fans want to play, because they did have exclusives for the first half of this generation and a little bit during the tail end of the Xbox One. And it wasn't that they weren't quality. It's just not what their fans wanted. So they'd have these games come out and no one would show up. So but
were they showing up with Game Pass?
Not before Game Pass. This is pre-Game Pass, like Gears 4, Gears 5.
Not for nothing. I also don't buy that people were really showing up for Game Pass that much. They got to the whatever number that was, 35 million. Yeah. I think that's well short of what Phil and cohort were aiming for. It sounds like great numbers, right? But I think it was clearly well short based on how they treated Game Pass after that. And I also that was a number on a person's LinkedIn. You know what I mean? I don't know what to put into that yet.
But seeing the combo of bringing back exclusives and Gears E-Day, as a huge Gears fan, being what I've wanted since Gears of War 3, it's they're simultaneously figuring out both sides of the equation, which they've never really done in a long time, at least. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. So, and I like your idea of getting a bunch of games ready to move on to Helix. That's a tough gamble, because that's putting a lot of trust in the current teams that have had a lot of problems over the past generation shipping anything, really. So it's rough. It's rough out there for them.
Maybe a little bit easier if they delay Helix, right? If they give themselves another year.
Yeah, but at the same time, Matthew Ball basically said that they may need to rethink Project Helix. He said, we are very cognizant of the ways in which we need the change as a company to make sure it's affordable, to make sure it's flexible. We are working hard to rethinking what that console model will look like, not in an exclusionary way, but in an additive way, So as we take a look at this, which may have an acute effects for the next 2 to 2.5 years. So essentially what I feel like with Nintendo, they were making a hard cut at the Wii U and a new system. I feel like what Microsoft is saying here is Sony has the PS5 Pro. Maybe Helix is just the Xbox Series Pro.
I like that. I hope they do that. That'd be good. Also, side note, I want his job. You get to be good looking in Jack and then just be an Oracle. Like, yeah,
Right.
this is what I think things are going to happen. Like, oh, give me $1 million. Awesome. How did he get that job?
He's the same person that's been doing these like
The
gaming
state of the
reports.
games industry?
Yeah,
They're
and
so good.
those have been excellent reports. I don't know that necessarily means you can run, Xbox strategy. I don't dislike what he's been saying so far. So there's that. But yeah, looking at it again, we're working hard to rethinking what console model may look like. And again, I think that's just like, man, there's so many ways you can take that. I think a lot of people latched on to the Xbox All Access thing. Like maybe that's something that they can do in terms of a console model. There's the next story that Bill you have here. Maybe that's what they're thinking about.
Tee it up.
So this is ad supported games which Matthew Ball also suggested. So definitely a fraught topic. But he says there is a two-sided problem. The costs have gone up way too high on development, and at the same point, everyone feels terrible with prices going up on hardware or software or microtransactions. That is a challenge. It's not good if that is the only option, he said. I think the best evidence comes from the TV streaming space. In excess of 100% of net ads in the United States for years and years, and have been on the ad-supported tier. That sounded like a weird sentence. I don't know where I read that wrong. But
No, it was typed pretty weird because I was just copied and paste. It was copied and pasted from an article. So
yeah. But yeah, essentially he's advocating for ads supporting games. He is very vague as to what this may mean. Well, not that vague. Actually, in the article, I think he points to supporting like Xbox, so ads for Xbox things, which I think is a lot better than how a lot of people may have interpreted that. Like you're not just necessarily getting like an ad for Coke or GLP-1s or whatever. I think the way he described it was like ads for Xbox. So like maybe Game Pass or maybe other games, which I think they have to explore every single avenue. But Bill, what do you think on this one?
Well, first off, just to make sure everybody's clear, there was a lot of backlash when this was posted, and he tweeted, this is not correct. In the interview, I am asked about a comment I made before being hired at Xbox, then state that I was only 10 days into the role. So basically 10 days into the role, somebody asked him about this thing that he said before he worked at Xbox.
Right.
And then I'm not stating the company's plans or beliefs. What I do say is that ads should be used to offer more affordable alternatives alongside today's ad-free experiences in the hopes that more could play as a result, similar to how Netflix and Disney Plus have ad tiers with all the same content, but at half the price or so. At no point do I even mention in-game ads, which I'm like, okay, so if you don't have in-game ads, what are you talking about? Are you just talking about the home screen? We already have that. On the home screen, you're already advertising to us on my Xbox. When I open it up, it's like, get this game. Yeah, that's advertising. So what's different there? And then he said, he said at the end, I personally believe interrupting the gameplay experience would be bad. So, kudos to Matthew Ball for saying the right words right there, because I agree with that. What were you going to say, Jimmy?
I think what he's probably thinking of is related to cloud streaming. Like while you wait for the Xbox on the cloud end to boot up, you watch an ad for Candy Crush or something, and then you get to play your game.
That's fine if I'm playing for free, but if I'm paying, I don't want to see a single ad.
Yeah, I don't either, ever. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'd love to see this thought out in like a closed environment that doesn't make it to Twitter, because I'd like to see what they're thinking
That's
of.
the thing, right?
I'm just like really interested in it from a just like curious data standpoint.
I'm not terribly mad at understanding that this was said before he was at Xbox. I'm not terribly mad at them like thinking about different things, whatever the thing is. But and again, maybe not in this case because this was before he was at Xbox, but like Xbox has been talking a lot lately, and maybe they should relax a little bit. Maybe they shouldn't be saying so much.
Problem for them,
right?
They need one person with a microphone and nobody else gets to talk.
The sucky thing is the interview that was pulled from is so good. It's with Chris Dring from the game business, which I guess Jeff Keighley kind of funds. And it's like a great interview about like where Xbox is at in the future. And then that's like 1 second of the interview and it turns into the one news story from it. But I was hooked,
Of course,
listening to this podcast.
All right, I'll have to check that out.
Well, okay, Jimmy, ads in games.
No, actually, if they do it like Need for Speed Most Wanted and Burnout Paradise, where the billboards in the game
or Crazy
update,
Taxi,
I thought that was sick. I don't know why when I was a kid, I just thought it was really cool that like there was a Burger King ad that would turn into a Taco Bell ad the next week on the billboards. Like just the idea that was possible was like, whoa, my games are connected to the internet, dude. It's like the Matrix. I thought that was cool. They do it like that, we're good.
I loved it in Crazy Taxi when you would like go to pick somebody up and they'd be like, take me to Pizza Hut or take me to Tower Records. I thought that was awesome.
Like
it seemed more realistic.
Yeah.
But if I'm playing Gears of War and, Master Chief pops up on the bottom of the screen and is like, yo, hey, you don't forget to buy this thing too. Then I'm going to be like, oh no, that ain't it.
What if you're firing up Gears of War, you get to the title screen and they give you a little pop-up that says Halo's coming out in 2 weeks, wishlist it now.
Again, that doesn't really bother me. The thing is
that's what I'm saying though.
That's advertising
every time you boot it
for
up.
Their own stuff. But if I bring it up and it's like there's a sale at Target for Tide Pods or whatever, like, okay, no, I don't need that. That's a different thing. Right. But that's what's going to happen.
Right. I don't know. How do you know?
Because the companies always do this. They always take it one step too far. You go to the movies and it's like 30 minutes, maybe more of ads while you're sitting there in a seat that you paid money for. And it just pisses me off.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that. When we were talking in group chat, you said I don't like ads and things I pay for, and I was trying to think of like things where you probably have ads and things you pay for. I did not think about the theaters. That's a good example.
And that's not trailers.
Ads,
I'm all for
like
trailers.
Local ads.
What's that, Jimmy?
My theater does like ads for the landscaping company down the street.
It's
kind of awesome.
I've seen that. Yeah,
that's pretty
weird.
Sweet. I'm like, maybe I should make an ad for the movie theater for my YouTube channel.
For Deck Ready. That would be amazing. No, you should do it for the Jimmy channel.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, right. Yes.
That would be sick. So I guess, Bill, my pushback is just that, like, okay, you're right. That is inevitably what they'll do. I cannot deny that. And I've said that before, like with like price hikes on subscriptions and things like that. So you're absolutely right. I guess part of me would rather right now, like, if that happens, say that's bad. But if that doesn't happen and they do what I said, like, leave room for that, maybe, right? Like maybe a Halo thing pops up on Gears of War when you fire it up and it says wishlist it now. Like, okay, no big deal. Especially if that does help keep costs down or make more money, right? Like if that helps them not have a 3% margin, and that means we get better games, like they're talking about investing in their IP, we get more of their IP, and we get a console that's not $2,000. That's where I'm sort of like, maybe. I also think this is a very difficult subject, and I don't have like a single like tenet that I follow here.
But what you're suggesting doesn't sound like advertising to me. To me, advertising, I mean, yes, technically it is an advertisement for something, but when I think of advertising, I think of a third party paying Microsoft money to tell their audience about something. And there's going to be people who are like, well, Bill, you do ads on your YouTube videos. Yeah, my videos are free. I put out free videos. So it's acceptable to put ads on those things. I have a Patreon too. I post this podcast to the Patreon. I never advertise it. I never tell anybody about it, but I post the podcast to the Patreon without any ads in it so that people don't have to put up with the ads. When you say advertising for the new Halo game or something, we already have that. Like when I boot up Cyberpunk 2077, like their little splash screen launcher that they have is going to advertise The Witcher Songs of the Past or whatever the thing's called. You know what I mean? That's something we see all the time. That's not advertising as much to me, but maybe I'm, splitting hairs.
Techland is so egregious with it, with Dying Light 1 and 2. They baked in like a 10-minute YouTube video that's like the trailer and a dev breakdown for Dying Light the Beast, and you had to watch it the first time. And I was like,
well,
what?
You can skip it?
The skip button wasn't working, so I was like getting conspiracied out, like maybe they baked it in that way, and then eventually it let me skip it. But it's like, I don't want to watch this fucking guy standing here telling me about a game I already bought. Like, that's crazy. Like, it should have been able to scan my Steam library or something to let me skip this ad. And then I'm playing Hitman right now, and it's advertising 007 First Light. That's fine. Like, a splash screen is fine. And when I booted up my Xbox for the first time in 2 years the other day, it gave me a full splash screen for the showcase. And I saw people complaining about that, but I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, because if someone's logging in to play Madden and they see that Gears logo and the Xbox logo, it's like, oh, you're getting more people in to the stuff that we care about and watch all the time. So it's like, to bring back their famous wording, a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the case-by-case basis for exclusives, which I don't think we mentioned that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill, here's another quote from that. And Jimmy, you tell me if this rings with you because you watched the interview. Ball says, that has not excluded anyone from ad-free experiences. He's talking about TV. He said those products are still there. They're still popular. The question is not, can we cram ads in everything? The question is, are there opportunities that allow the people who can't afford or wouldn't try to have an onboard to our properties and franchises? So our properties and franchises sounds like he's talking about ads for their own things. And so the Windows Central person that wrote about this, the writer says, essentially sounds like if Xbox explores putting ads in games, it would do so by directing players to things like discounts on titles they don't own or services they don't use. So that being the people, so they don't use, like Xbox Game Pass, rather than to any products made by anyone willing to pay for an ad slot.
Well, that sounds a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's tough because it's an easy rake to step on, right? Because you can get into the slippery slope mentality where, like, yeah, that sounds great if it is cheaper than it is now, but then they could also just shift it up so that the current top tier is the entry level tier, and then suddenly there's but like,
there's definitely some slippery slope stuff.
I'm fine with that, honestly. Like, I pay for the ad-free HBO Max because I don't want to see ads. It blows my mind that people don't think YouTube Premium is worth it. That's like insane to me. I've paid since the beginning, and it is the most worth it subscription on planet Earth, in my opinion. So like,
I would cancel everything before YouTube.
Yeah, I use it. Like, I get it being pissed if you're like paying for Netflix and you're not using it, you feel like a dummy or a sucker or whatever. But if you're using it, you're getting a service for your money, and like, that's what I want. I paid for the service for a reason. So like, HBO Max without ads is worth it to me. YouTube Premium is worth it for me. I don't subscribe to Game Pass. I like buying games, but if I did, I'd pay for the tier that doesn't have ads. And like, having the option there means that someone who isn't well off enough, or like, just wants a way to be able to play their games, Like, it's good to have that versus not at all, right?
Let me ask you a question real quick. You mentioned Game Pass, and we're assuming that there's, an ad-supported version of Game Pass, and we already said that there's a slippery slope where they slowly move that up over time, where we've seen like Amazon do that kind of nonsense. But let's take it out of a subscription model, and let's say that you could go to maybe not go to a store, because who knows when physical media. Let's say that you can go onto the Xbox store, and you could say, all right, I'm going to buy the new Senua game, right? And it's $60, or I can buy an ad-supported Senua game for $40, and every time I turn it on, it's going to show me a 30-second ad the first time that when I boot it up. Would you be okay with that?
What were the prices you said?
Sorry.
60 and okay, so how much is I forgot that prices are no longer 60 anymore. So we'll say 70, because I don't think any of these were $80 games, but we don't know. We'll say 70 and 50.
And Jimmy, what were you saying?
Well, Kindles already do that. You could buy an ad-supported Kindle, and it was a lot cheaper, and people loved buying it. I'd be fine with that, knowing full well that I'm going to pay for the expensive one. But I'm happy it's there for people who want it cheaper. And they'd have to make sure they always adjust the cheaper version alongside sales on the more expensive version too. So it's not like you can ever get the ad-free one for the same price,
Yep.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like a sucker.
I would also buy the ad-free version, but I would be fine with that. If someone wants to pay $50, because like Jimmy said, they can't necessarily afford the $70 version, but they still want to play the game, and this is one way that they can afford it potentially, then I don't see not that I don't see a problem with it. I'm okay with it. I'm reluctantly okay with it, is how I would put it. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it right now. Like, I'm so conflicted, because I absolutely despise advertisements. That's why I pay the higher tier on every single thing that I watch. I always go for the ad-free tier.
Yeah.
I can't stand it when I'm trying, like, if you're in the middle of a show and it's like, all right, this show brought to you by Kleenex. I'm like,
and it's the same ads every time.
Oh yeah,
we have
the
freaking
worst.
Peacock, so my wife can watch the Traders, and it's 2 ads, and they're the exact same every time. It's like insane, but we get it for free with my mom's cable, so I'm not upgrading that. But yeah, dude, I'm like fine with it. I don't know. It's really hard for me to look into the future and be mad about something that hasn't happened yet. So that's why I'm always like, I'll be mad when it happens, but it just bums me out that everything has to be so knee-jerk, immediate, instant, either really positive or really negative reaction, because getting access to someone talking openly like this about what they're thinking through is awesome. It's so interesting to me. And reactions like this just encourage them to shut up and never talk about anything and keep it to the boardroom. But I guess I'm glad that they're talking about it, because then the reaction's going to cause them to rethink, making me watch an ad for DoorDash in front of my kill cam in Call of Duty after the match.
For some reason, when you guys were talking about Madden, and I don't even remember what you guys were saying, but like I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if you could do like a Gears, like you remember the Alien Mutant game, football games, Mutant Football League?
Yeah, Mutant
like,
Football League.
Imagine if you could do like Gears of War team versus like Locust. Like that would be sick.
That would be awesome.
That would be.
Do you remember in Burnout 3, you could, or one of the Burnouts, you could just blow up a Hardee's?
No, that's amazing.
You could get the Hardee's truck and drive it off a ramp and blow up.
Oh my gosh,
that was good in-game advertising.
Yeah.
You brought up Madden, and it makes me think, how would you, because I'm conflicted on this really bad. How would you feel about you're playing Madden and the announcer, when you watch a football game and the announcers are like, this segment is brought to you by whatever, and then they're talking about the game, but they're also mentioning this thing they got paid for,
Right.
And
that's realism, bro.
It's realism. So I like in a Madden game or a basketball, like at a sports game, I would be like, that's cool as hell. I would be totally okay with that.
I'm like scared to agree with you because of the comments. So like,
oh yeah, people are going to be mad at me for being okay with it. It would just feel more realistic.
We're just feeling it out.
See, I agree. I think it would be fine. I think it could be cool even. I would go as far as to say it could be cool. And like, I think that was I was thinking about why I winced at like what you said, Bill, about the ads, and like not what you said, what the writer on Windows Central said, and then you continued talking about it. But why I winced at what the writer said was because it was such a broad blanket statement, right? Like, I don't support ads in games no matter what the context, right? And that like sentence, the way it's framed, kind of triggers me, and like, I don't really like things that are painted with a very broad brush. And part of it is like, people are so damn creative that like, take Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It. Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It is literally a asset flip in the time when people were talking about how crappy asset flips are, right? But because he is a creative, he's a true creative. He wasn't asset flipping to make money, right? But he was using these stock assets to make something that turned out to be amazing.
That's the one where you're climbing with the hammer, right?
Exactly. Okay. And all of those are just stock assets you could find on like the Unity store.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's just the definition of an asset flip in that way. And so like, you can take anything bad and make it creative, and then it's interesting, right? The problem is ads are typically not creative, right? But like, then again, that's why we used to talk about ads in the Super Bowl. We used to talk about them when they're creative. When something is creatively done, I can see how it can work. The problem is, when it's just a cash grab and that's all it ever is.
Yeah. I give you a perfect example of this, and then we really do have to move on. Last week we had Bob on the show. Bob's ads are the best ads on YouTube. I've tried to emulate those by doing the things where I talk to myself. And if I was a full-time YouTuber instead of somebody who does it like for fun as an extra side gig, I would do that all the time. I don't have time to do those kinds of ads. But even if Bob puts out a video that I am not really interested in that particular topic, I still watch because his ads entertain me. And that's something that he's getting paid to do a Factor ad. But whenever I watch it, I'm always like laughing because he has these goofy scenarios where he's interacting with his other self. And it's great.
Yeah, I love those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I am a full-time YouTuber and I don't do that, so
it's something you can do, Jimmy. And
yeah, with my 2 ads a year.
Fair. But yeah, I think creativity trumps everything. I think when you get someone that can really like do what Bob's doing, it doesn't even matter, right? Like you said, and it's not just you, Bill. A lot of people will sit through the ads and it's one of their favorite parts of a Bob video, and it's because he's that creative.
Yeah, I'll usually call my wife when it's a really good one. I'll go get my wife and I'll say, Bob's got a new ad, and she'll come up and we'll watch it. I will rewatch the ad and she will watch it with me because of the funny thing that he does. All right, we got to move on from that. Sorry. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I found this guy on YouTube who uploads 80s horror movies like Halloween 4, and he went through the effort to splice in commercial breaks from the era. And I downloaded all of the movies he uploaded and I stitched them together in Final Cut. And then in October, I just run it on my TV 24/7. It's like 6 movies.
That's awesome.
That's so sick.
There was this one guy, and I know, big tangent, guys, sorry. There was this one guy who he built a Raspberry Pi or something that would basically make it like if you wanted to watch something, it was like you were watching TV in the 80s or 90s. Like
that's cool.
there's certain channels you could go between, and it had ads and like the commercials and all that stuff that were in between the episodes of whatever cartoon you were watching. I thought that was awesome. All right, let's move on and talk about the announcements, the actual games in this gaming podcast of both the Xbox Game Showcase and the Nintendo Direct. Jimmy, you were there. What did you get a chance to get hands-on with any of this stuff from the Xbox Game Showcase?
Not from Xbox. From Summer Game Fest I did.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about those real quick, and then we'll talk about Xbox, because we talked about Summer Games Fest last week, but not with hands-on impressions.
So I got to see a presentation for the Saw game, and that looks pretty cool. It looks like Outlast Trials, but one guy is Jigsaw in the 1900s, which I think is sweet. So I didn't get to play that, but I did get to play Alien Isolation 2, which I was very excited about. And in the best way possible, it's just more Alien Isolation. And one of the aliens in the first game ends up on a planet, and you find the ship he's in. So it's like a direct continuation. I played the prologue, so this is not like spoiler territory. And it was the graphics were insane. Like this game has, I'm not even a graphics guy, but this game has the best face animations I've ever seen in a game, hands down. Like I'll stand by that till it comes out. And the fact that instead of being stuck on a space station orbiting a planet, you're like, for at least the first portion of the prologue, you're outside on this like storm ravaged forest planet, and it's like scary. There's no alien at that point, but it feels scary because you're like, whoa, I'm like alone on this planet. And then the alien is still hard as hell. I'm not going to name the YouTuber, but I talked to someone else who got to play it at the same time as me, and they were like, that felt like a late game alien that we were going up against. And I was like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. Like, he's supposed to be hard as hell. And I thought it was really sweet that at the end of the level that I was playing, you have to escape the ship. So your choice is go all the way back through where you came from to exit, or you can sneak around and scavenge for parts to open a door that takes you right to the ladder. So I was like, I did it both times because I just played the first game, so I know how to cheese the alien. And it was equally hard, but it was cool that it gave you a choice over which way to do it. And then I went to this event called The Mix, which was all indie developers. And I would say out of like 20 of the TVs that were set up, 10 of these developers brought their own Steam Deck and had the games running on it. And a lot of them I would talk to and be like, how's optimization going? And they'd be like, it's coming along. We've got it at a hard locked 45 FPS, but like, we'd really like it to be 90. And I was like, dude, that's better than like half the shit we've been playing for the past few years. So I played a really cool game called Erosion. That's a voxel based game where you're a cowboy, but it's kind of retro futuristic. And if you die 3 times in this dungeon, it advances the world 10 years. So there's an open world segment where you can clear out a camp and then choose to advance the world 10 years and then see how it plays out. And that can either benefit you or it can be a consequence. And that's from the same publisher as Valor Mortis. So it's like, it felt like a pretty big budget indie game. And those were the 3 that stood out to me from what I played.
Very cool. What's the cowboy one called again?
Erosion. And
Erosion.
They said they're going to do either early access or an early playtest very soon, but I immediately wishlisted it. And then there was actually one more that I played on Steam Deck called Deck Crawler. And this is like a new genre to me, but like Dungeons of Dusk or Vampire Crawlers, it's very similar to that. But the guy said it was like I think a husband and wife team. They wanted it to feel like Army of Darkness. That's like the sort of art inspiration they had. And they wanted the game to feel like Daggerfall. So it's like an open world Bethesda style RPG, but when you get into combat, it turns into a deck builder, grid-based dungeon crawler type combat game. And I played that for 20 minutes on the Steam Deck, and it was awesome. And it was this guy's Steam Deck. He was like, don't break it. I'm like, I won't. So that was cool. That was a cool game.
That's awesome.
Erosion does look sick. This looks awesome.
Yeah, the art style is really cool. And I was good at it. So the developer was like, all right, let me put you late game. And he like went on the computer and was like hacking. It toggled all these things on. And he's like, he gave me an Uzi that was powerful, but had like 10 bullets in its clip, and then put me in a really hard part of the dungeon. And I did all right. So he was like, he was laughing, and I thought it was cool. But it was like the one guy who made it was demoing it, and it was crazy seeing him just like pull up this menu and be able to toggle everything on and off.
That's awesome.
That's very cool. All right, let's talk about the Xbox Game Showcase. Obviously, we're not going to go through every single game that was listed. Real quick, did either of you guys get a chance to see the 30-minute Fable deep dive of gameplay that came out?
I skimmed it.
No.
So I watched the first 20 minutes of it, and then I had to leave, so I didn't get to see the end of it. I didn't see any combat, but I saw a lot of the systems that they use in the game to show how people react to your character. And I thought it was really cool. So the way that they showed it off essentially is there were these two different shopkeepers essentially, and one of them liked you a lot and the other one hated your guts, and it was because of the same reason. Is because you had a lot of money. So the one shopkeep was like, this guy has a lot of money. I like that. And the other shopkeep was like, this guy has a lot of money. That means he's out of touch and I hate him. And I think that that's really cool because most of the time when you play games like this, it's like you go in a certain direction and suddenly the entire world thinks that you are just the greatest thing ever. And I really liked the nuance that was there. I also thought it looked, I just think this game looks great and I cannot wait to play it. But you guys didn't see that, so we can move on from Fable unless you guys had anything that you wanted to say about it.
I can't believe it's running on Forza's tech engine. I thought they switched it to Unreal 5, but it turns out it's running on the Forza tech engine and like looks really good.
It does look really good.
Where's the tech is cooking?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they also showed this guy, he hired the town beggar
I saw this
to run his bar. And so the guy then had a name change. His name was like, I don't know, Jack the beggar or something. I don't remember what his name was. And now he's Jack the bartender and he's running your bar. And then you can you can buy all these businesses and you can be like a landlord or whatever. There's just crazy stuff that you don't see in other games. And I thought that was interesting. Did you guys get a chance to see the Xbox Game Showcase?
Yeah, I was at that.
I did not. Yeah.
Oh, I know that Jimmy got to see it. Yeah.
What'd you
didn't
think,
see any
Jimmy?
of it? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
I have only heard louder cheers one time in a showcase. I've been to Xboxes for like the last decade, so I've been to about 10 of them. I've never heard louder cheers except for one time that I'll explain in a second when they announced the exclusives than I've heard on this day, and it was very energizing. I was like, oh man, I'm glad for these Xbox fans. The one time that I heard louder cheers was at the one where Keanu Reeves came out for Cyberpunk.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
You're
that
beautiful.
makes sense. And then I thought it was extremely cool that they gave every fan there the green Xbox. And I did not get one. People were commenting that I got one. I had a media badge, so I have to buy it like everyone else. But game-wise, there was strong start with Gears and Clockwork. Then it was kind of up and down for me in the middle, and I'm the one guy who was really excited about that DMZ trailer for Call of Duty. That was awesome. I'm so excited for that extraction mode. Like the sound was crazy. I got jump scared by a part where like it was using that body cam sort of thing where it's like the shoulder mounted camera. So
Right.
people were thinking that that's how it's played. That's not how it's played. That's like the spectate camera, but it's cinematic. The guy running in front of the dude whose camera perspective you had runs through a door, and it was like the loudest, most realistic sounding sniper shot I've ever heard. And it just like goes through the guy, and then he's like dragging him into the elevator, kind of like Battlefield. I was like, oh, I'm into this. And the fact that it takes place in North Korea is awesome. Like you're in this demilitarized zone in North Korea. I'm like, this feels like old Modern Warfare when they had nuts before it was like fictional country versus fictional country, you know? I was like, I'm into that. So those were and Persona 6 look cool. Those are the standouts, I think.
We didn't really see anything for Persona 6, did we? It was just like
No, it's
shapes
like a
on the
graveyard.
screen.
But like the art style with like, you know, the newspaper clippings and the black and green, I was like, oh, this is up my alley.
Yeah. So for me, the ones that stood out, I think E-Day looks unbelievably beautiful. Like the graphics of that game are crazy. Halo
Campaign Evolved.
Thank you.
I keep saying it wrong.
It looks beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous game. Fable, I'm over the moon for. Crazy Taxi. I was laying down on this couch next to me watching the thing. And as soon as I heard, yeah, I sat up and I was like, I was paying attention. I was so excited because I loved Crazy Taxi. And those were the games that really stood out for me. That and Spyro, but not for me, probably for my grandson, because he just likes playing the Spyro trilogy on my computer.
Did you see how many views that trailer got?
No.
It's like it's like a couple 100,000 behind God of War, which was the biggest trailer out of this whole event.
Wow.
It's at like 7.3 or 4 million views.
Now 16 million views
For Spyro?
for Spyro A Realm Beyond.
Isn't that insane?
That's insane.
How many did you say, Rich?
16 million?
Wow. That's crazy.
Incredible.
I guess I just didn't realize how huge Spyro is, but I don't know. It's been around for a really long time, and it just kind of got sidelined by the plastic. What was the plastic game that replaced it?
Oh, Skylanders.
Yeah.
Skylanders. He got sidelined for Skylanders and then never came back. Well, now he's back.
He looks so weird in Skylanders.
That's crazy. I didn't even think about the fact that Microsoft owns Skylanders now. That's insane.
Yeah.
They just own
cool.
everything.
Halo, I didn't realize they were doing 3 new missions that are book lore accurate. Because I guess in the Halo universe, like before the Covenant find Earth, so during Halo 1, they don't know where Earth is. If you're running from the Covenant, you have to hyperspace jump 3 times before you can go back to Earth. And so that's the missions that they added to Halo 1.
Oh,
and so
okay.
like they've got Chief in the Halo Wars Mark IV armor because, Halo 1 starts with him getting the Mark V armor. And I don't think you're going to have Cortana during those missions because he gets her. So it's just like interesting. I was like, oh, they're actually like really thinking this out in a way that I didn't expect. And it looks like Johnson has a gun that can, convince the enemies to fight for you. He like uses it on a brute, and then the brute starts like beating up all the grunts and elites. I was like, this looks like it could be cool. And there's a flying section where you're flying a ghost, and I was like, damn, or a phantom. Like,
did you guys see the video that was posted where it showed that you could play Halo in third person?
Yeah, like the whole game. It's a skull.
Yeah, you can play the whole game in third person. What do you mean it's a skull? Oh, that's one of the things you got to collect, right?
Yeah, they added, I think, like 40 skulls or something. Skulls are like, you would find them in the campaign, and then they would allow you to turn on a modifier. And most of them in the old days were like, let's make it more brutally difficult. Like, it would be a huge debuff. But they added a bunch that are like accessibility now.
Okay. So for me, the only Halo that I have played is the first one, and it was not back when it came out. It was right before Halo Infinite came out. I got the Master Chief Collection, and I played the first one. And then I played Halo Infinite, and I really enjoyed both of those. What?
You got to see Mr. Chief's saga, dude. You got to play 1, 2, 3.
When those games were coming out, like what years was that?
2001, 2004.
Okay, then I was playing World of Warcraft and only World of Warcraft. So I didn't play anything other than World of Warcraft.
I mean,
they do, because when I played Halo 1, I played it in a weekend and I enjoyed that. I had so much fun. It was amazing.
Yeah, Reach is my favorite by far. I love Reach's story, dude.
I have not played Reach. Yeah, I'll need to play Reach.
All right, us three.
But I'm excited for campaign involved.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, me too.
That first time they showed it off, it had that Unreal Engine slop look to it, but they've addressed this issue since. And
everything.
They show...
I mean, I don't have a problem with Unreal, whatever. Like, I have no. I don't. God, I don't have any. I don't. It's not precious to me. So when I load up a Halo game, I'm like, this is what Halo looks like. I don't really care if it
looks
slightly
better than
different.
The Anniversary Edition, which is a mess. but they showed a trailer for the crossplay, and there was an extended shot of it running on the Steam Deck. And on the Gears eDay page, there's a whole section about optimization, which makes me very happy. And they list that it's handheld ready, and they put the Steam Deck before the Xbox Ally. They're like, it's optimized for Steam Deck and Xbox Ally. And I was like, oh, okay. So like Gears eDay, I guess, is like, they say it's going to run well on a wide range of hardware, including the Steam Deck. So I hope that's true.
You think 30 frames per second?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think everybody's going to have that glow around them that happens when you run games at really low settings?
Because Lego Batman is Unreal Engine 5, and it looks phenomenal at low with FSR to balanced and 30 FPS.
That's because everything's a super clean line in Batman. You know what I mean?
Kind of. This one's a little bit different. This one's like they molded the plastic. Like you can see the mold lines in Batman. Like it's like playing with Legos, and the world feels like a new Arkham world. There's like some stuff that's built out of Lego, but a lot of it is like a regular video game world in Unreal Engine 5. And this new version of Unreal, I think it's 5.8 or something, they promised big performance jumps, and there's been 2 or 3 games now since that happened, like Chronos the New Dawn, Batman, and one other that I forget, that all run great on the Steam Deck and look good. They don't look like garbage. You don't have to use the Eclipse mod or whatever. So
right.
I hope so. That'd be kind of cool for a second playthrough. A game like that, TV for the first playthrough for sure.
Rich, the list is in front of you. Any of these games something that you're interested in, even though you didn't get to see the presentation?
Yeah. So Campaign Evolved, I did watch that trailer. Looks great. Definitely interested. Crazy Taxi. I know. There's a lot of like they ended up using AI and disclosing that on Steam, so there's a lot of backlash on that. But not gonna lie, I'm super excited about Crazy Taxi. There's a lot of nostalgia there. I really enjoy that game. Belmont's Curse continues to look good. So
I forgot that was at the Xbox show.
Yeah.
That was kind of weird.
So like this, once again, this is the same one as the Dead Cells.
Dead Cells.
Right? Yeah. So
Motion Twin.
Evil Empire this time.
They changed
Who's Motion Twin?
Also, there's a big. I think they're also the Dead Cells folks. So like, some folks broke off and made one.
Oh, okay.
I forget the exact lore, but I believe it's both of them are from Dead Cells.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna look it up. But yeah, I think those are the games that excite me the most.
All right, let's talk about the Nintendo Direct. I'm going to say that overall, I thought the Nintendo Direct was good, not great. Except for Zelda Ocarina of Time. I'm over the moon. I can't wait. I was a little disappointed that we didn't get to see gameplay for that, especially because it leaked ahead of time, and so everybody knew it was coming, or not knew it was coming, but a lot of people were expecting it. So we'll come back to Ocarina of Time in a second. There's a new sports resort game. You know, as somebody who has grandkids, that's awesome. Something to play with my grandkids. Star Fox, we got to see a little bit more of. We finally kind of understand what Splatoon Raiders is going to be like. And then just as I look through the rest of these games, most of them are games that I can just play on other platforms, and I'm not going to be playing them on my Switch 2.
That Final Fantasy game looks really cool.
Which one?
The HD 2D one.
Oh, Revenant? No, not Revenant.
Yeah.
Revelation?
Yeah, it has a weird name.
Not FF7, not the new FF7.
Oh, no. There's like a HD 2D new Final Fantasy.
Resonance,
yes. I knew it started with an R.
I will play that on my Steam Deck.
Right, yes. Exactly. Most of these games I'll be playing on PC because that gives me more options, you know. But Zelda Ocarina of Time. What do you guys think of what we saw?
It was but a tiny teaser, but I like the look of it, right? Like I like the look of Link's model. I don't know if I saw some mixed opinions, but I enjoyed the look of it.
Yeah. So like you were talking about how you missed Halo because of WoW. I missed this game because of Halo. My first console was the original Xbox. I didn't have an N64, but I played this game on the 3DS when I graduated high school, and I really liked it. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go back. I want to see if they're going to change it. If it's a straight remake like the 3DS one, or if they're going to like screw with it a little bit. I know that would piss people off, but I'd like to see them, you know, take some of the learnings from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and like maybe expand Hyrule Field a little bit or have some better mission tracking or something. I don't know, but I thought it looked good.
For the 3DS, we got basically like the straight remake, and I think that was great, and you know, no problem. I think you're right. I think for this one, let's see a little, like, take a little risk, like make it the like RE4 remake of RE4 is what I would like to see.
I am with you guys on this 100%. I love Ocarina of Time. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I can play it right now if I want. I have a copy of it. I have the N64 from Analog that I can plug in and just play on there.
Oh, did you buy that?
If I want to play,
Did you buy that, or did they give it to you?
I bought it.
Dang. Okay.
So I have access to the original game. I don't need to play the original game again. Do something different, but in that same world. And Jimmy, you are 100% right. Hyrule Field, when in 1998, when that came out, my mind was blown. But when you go back and you play it today, you're like, this is empty. Like there's nothing here. It's just, I get on my horse and go from one place to the next.
Yeah. I think Link needs an MP5 in this remake.
NP5.
Like
a gun?
I forgot to mention Resident Evil because I'm an
Veronica?
idiot. That was my favorite thing that got announced by a wide margin. That looks sick too.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, Jimmy. Immediately.
Dude, I had to sit through. I had to sit through. I sat through. I went to this closed doors presentation where I thought they would show gameplay, and what they showed was the timeline of Resident Evil. And I was like, I should not be here. I know the timeline. Yeah. And then it goes quiet and they open up Q&A and this guy goes, I saw you guys focused on the V a lot in the trailer. Does that mean this is like Resident Evil 5 now? And then the producer was like, no. Because it's like, it's Resident Evil 4, technically.
Right. Exactly, right. It doesn't even make sense. Yeah, in the reordering, it makes no sense. But yeah, it looked awesome. They didn't show much, but I was very excited by it.
Yeah. I saw a cool clip that's like the zombies move in hordes in this game, and I was like, oh yes. And that game needs a remake because you can get soft locked like 10 different times in that game, and then you have to start over.
Definitely.
I got like halfway through the RE4 remake when I was earlier this year trying to get through RE games to get to RE9. So that is my mission. Before Veronica, I will be caught up.
Cool.
Yeah.
With all of them?
All the important ones. I'm going to skip like RE5, RE6 with the anticipation that we'll get a decent
they're going to
remake
them.
Exactly. Right. So like I'll do RE4. I'll finish RE4 remake. I'll do RE7. I might skip RE8 and then I'll do RE9. That's my.
If they remake RE6, which is the one that's really more of an action game, right?
Yeah.
Is that RE5?
Yeah.
6.
No,
okay.
Well, 5's action, but 6 is like their advertising was like, we're trying to get Call of Duty fans to play Resident Evil.
Right. If they remake that, Jimmy, do you want them to change it so that it's not like that? So that it's more of a horror game, even though that's wildly different than the original?
Yeah, I do want them to make it a little more scary. And also, you could make it a linear game that bounces between characters and follows the plot, and it would be a lot better because there's so much filler. Like Leon's campaign feels like a straight up finished game, but then you play as Chris and there's like 10 levels of just hallway after hallway after hallway. Ada's campaign is weird because it's like a greatest hits of the game, but they pick the worst levels, which doesn't make sense. So I trim the fat and bounce between the characters, sort of like they do in the Revelations games, where it's like presented episodically and you bounce between Chris or Jill, depending on where you're at in the game.
Jill.
Come on.
And then one other game that jumped out at me that I think they opened up the Nintendo Direct with was Rhythm Heaven Groove, which normally I wouldn't be super excited for a Rhythm Heaven game, but this looked like it could have been a WarioWare game. And I love the WarioWare games.
It was like jingling keys.
Rhythm Heaven games are made by the same devs. They're all WarioWare games. They're so good. You should try them.
I don't think I've ever played a single Rhythm Heaven game, but I've played the shit out of WarioWare games, and like I've had so much fun with those.
Yeah, Rhythm Heaven is basically WarioWare but music, and I think you would enjoy them. Yeah,
very cool.
Did you guys play Elite Beat Agents on the DS?
I have.
No.
Yeah,
I think that game's cool.
That game is rad. Yeah, I think you would like that too, Bill.
Every time someone
remember
mentions Rhythm
seeing
Heaven,
it because where you got the guys in the suit and ties and they're like dancing and you gotta drag the stylus across.
Yep.
And I always just thought I'd be terrible at that, and so that's why I never tried it.
I was terrible at Guitar Hero, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Guitar Hero was how I did physical therapy for my hand because I had to have a tumor cut out of my hand. It was pushing the two bones here apart. So they had to cut that out. And then after the surgery, I was playing Guitar Hero was how I did my physical therapy.
Your hand.
Huh?
That's cool. You're like stretching your hand out.
Yeah, because you had to be able to like hit all the buttons or something. And I had like you can't really see it, but I got this nasty scar on my hand between my index finger and my middle finger.
Wow. Well,
but
the
that was
scar
because
is
I had a tumor in
badass.
my hand.
The scar is badass. Your recovery is badass. So
yes,
you're
and it was really fun too. Guitar Hero was awesome.
It's coming back this year.
It is coming back, but I don't think I want plastic shit in my house. You know what I mean? There's just so much plastic shit. That's why
I do.
Skylanders, get that out of here. The Lego Dimensions game, get that out of here. Guitar Hero and Rock Band. I don't want the plastic instruments.
I ran the Twitter for Lego Dimensions when I was working at a media agency. And the day after Negan killed Glenn on The Walking Dead, I thought it was on my Twitter and I quote retweeted a review from the Lego Dimensions Twitter. And I deleted it really fast and no one saw it.
Oh,
so I
thank
didn't
God.
get in trouble.
That's hilarious.
God, I wish we had a screenshot of it.
Yeah.
Of Negan with the bat on the Lego Dimensions account. I was like, oh, fuck. It was my first day of work when I moved out to LA.
Oh my God.
So no one noticed, like not even at work.
No one brought it up. I wasn't going to bring it up.
Of course not. Yeah.
Do you have a screenshot of it?
No, I was so scared.
Yeah. You just deleted it immediately.
And it was cool.
That's too funny.
It was sick because my boss who ran the media agency, which has since closed, he let me live in his guest house in Bel Air when I moved out to LA. So like I got to go up to Bel Air and like use his pool and like live in his guest house for a while. It was sick. And then I was like, I'm gonna have to go back to Michigan and I'm gonna have to work at Staples again.
Well, let us know what you guys liked at the Xbox and Nintendo announcements and all the other things that we talked about today. Jimmy, what are you working on, man? What's your next video?
A 2-host video with me and Ray from Xbox Ready, where we go through all of the new shipping evidence for the Steam machine together.
Sweet.
It's pretty sweet.
Very cool.
I have to edit it tonight.
Looking forward to that.
Hey, Rich, you're still on vacation? Oh, you're working on something behind the scenes.
Oh, you mean my pet project?
Yeah.
Like my application?
Are you sharing that, or is that still close to the vest?
I'm not. So I'm not sharing it, but it's not because it's like, I mean, I'm not sharing the application, but I'm happy to talk about it. What I think a lot is going to happen in the future is we're going to see a lot more like people just making applications for themselves, right? There are a lot more tools for people to do that. And so that's what this is to me. I'm building a way for me to track like things that I'm thinking about video games and also like maybe like the status. And so right now I'm thinking of it as like a journal for video games. And I've shared that with Bill and I've shared it with Jimmy. And it's just a fun little thing, right?
It looks good.
Thanks, man. So like one of the things I want to do now, because like I see my activity feed, so now I want to see your guys' feeds. I know you're probably not using it like that, but I'd like to, if you were using it, I'd like to see like, oh, Jimmy says this about Resident Evil, right?
I'm gonna start using it.
Sweet.
So you're making this to learn how to make the ad platform for video games, right?
Right. I'm gonna be Xbox is gonna have to go through me for these ads. No, it literally is just like making apps for me and friends, and no business plan, no nothing. It's just, and if it turns into something that people like, then maybe I'll start thinking about that. But Bill, I made like the kind of like RSS reader thing essentially that I shared with you guys, and I have no intention to do anything with that right now.
I use it still. Rich
Me
gave me.
I click on it once a day.
Yeah, he gave me the command to make ChatGPT do it.
To make like a summary.
Yeah.
Or like not a script, but like these are the topics I should talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sick.
And then I go, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, G.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Jimmy, tell everybody where they can find your stuff, and we will wrap up.
Deck ready.
All right. We're wrapping up. That's it. We're out of here.
That's it.
Stay rad, everybody.
See you guys.